Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Fintech Fridays. I'm Brian Vieaux, President and Chief Operating Officer of FinLocker, and really pleased to have joining me today Jason Cave, who's the head of Fintech head of Fintech Strategy with the FHFA. Jason, thanks for joining me today.
Great to be here, Brian. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I think we met last October at the Mortgage Bankers Association conference. You were speaking at a morning panel session. I'll add that it was a very early morning panel session, and pretty engaging crowd for a 7 a.m. session. We started to kind of have a little dialogue following that led to you being kind enough to join my little humble podcast. So thank you again.
Pleasure, my pleasure. I'm trying to hit as many of these as possible.
Yeah, no, I think it's super cool. It's really from my seat, running a fintech that's focused on the mortgage vertical, and then my prior life being a operator inside a mortgage. It's refreshing to have someone like yourself be so transparent and out there and active on the circuit, so to speak. So I guess I speak on behalf of the fintechs that support mortgage and housing finance and the lenders. We thank you for kind of listening and helping us understand, where FHFA kind of is thinking about fintech. But before we dive into that part of the conversation, I think it'd be helpful for the audience that's not so familiar with Jason Cave to get a little background on yourself personally, and then maybe explain how this fintech division within FHFA kind of came to life.
Sure. Happy to. So I've been a financial regulator. It'll be 30 years this July. Goes fast. But spent most of that time, 27 years, at FDIC doing a whole bunch of things. I started as a bank examiner, and I got into writing capital rules, other policy, worked for Chairman Sheila Bair during the financial crisis, which that was exciting to say the least. And then after doing a lot of that, helped set up some of our large bank resolution programs. So pretty heavy on the bank side and policy. A couple of years ago, I came over to FHFA to help them with readiness planning and helping to manage the conservatorships. And Sandra Thompson, who was acting director at the time before she was confirmed, she asked some of us, why haven't we at FHFA opened a fintech office? She was on the FSOC groups, Financial Stability Oversight Council, and most of the other members had opened up some type of innovation hub or fintech office. And so she asked me to take a look at it, see if there was a value for FHFA. Had a lot of discussions with people, and everyone that had set these offices up showed that there was a lot of value, an opportunity to go deeper into the tech and innovations that are driving the regulated entities, both opportunities and challenges. And so next thought was, is there much for FHFA to do here? Did a little research, saw that there was a lot of mortgage techs already. There was FinLocker in the beginning stages. And, when you look at it, my first thought was, I think if there's any efficiencies to be gained, they've already happened. Because look, there's like 200 or 300 fintechs here in this space. So then I started talking to people like Brian and others and doing some research to find that while there's a lot of fintechs, there's still a lot of areas for improvement. When you look at how long it takes to close a mortgage and the closing costs, those numbers are not sort of in line with an industry where financial technology has been fully embraced. So we decided to open the office. We put out an RFI soon after that said, we're looking to understand this space better, find out really at the top of the top line, where has technology made a difference in the mortgage process and why, and where hasn't it been able to gain some traction and why not? and start from there. So it's been, first off, let me just say, everybody that I have talked to has been super helpful. Everybody is very passionate with what they do in this space and have been very willing to help me understand the difference between an LOS and a POS and all those things. So it's been so far really great.
Any surprises other than you kind of maybe alluded to one, around the cost to originate not going down or becoming more efficient or effective with all the fintechs? Any other surprises there?
I would say definitely surprises with just how many parts of the process there are in the value chain or distribution chain, whatever, what have you, and how, the differences in the roles. And, again, my experience is as a consumer, as somebody that's got, getting a refinance and not really thinking a lot about all of the different pieces and all the things that have to be done, just thinking about, the annoyance of, they want this and they want that. Right. And not knowing that sometimes my refinance would go really quickly and would be very digital. And then maybe a year later, so later, that would be more manual, but not really thinking a lot about it, just sort of saying, well, that's just how it is. And so it's opened my eyes to a lot more of why that's the case, and areas where where I think everybody wants to do more, but that anybody on their own individual can't. And so it becomes an opportunity for us at FHFA to use some convening powers to bring people from across the mortgage ecosystem together to try to solve these things. And I know a lot has already been done. Right. This is working with Fannie and Freddie. There's been a lot, but even they have mentioned that it will be helpful to have my group and others to really bring a lot of the different parties together and see if we can make some improvements. So,
to me, there's a couple of obvious areas. I think most people think about the mortgage process kind of, as the point of loan application through mortgage closing, right? So for someone buying a home, it's, maybe it starts early in the pre-approval, but it's really that kind of core information, data, document gathering stage. Kind of, I think I've heard you talk about the Columbo aspect of the mortgage process. One more question, ma'am.
Yeah.
But do you guys think about maybe even further up funnel or upstream the role of technology in helping educate and prepare consumers for the buying process and the financing process? And if so, any thoughts on that?
Well, I think so we have, and I know that there are some companies. I know you guys are doing a lot in that space of just, sometimes taking it for granted that everybody knows exactly what they want to do and they pick up the phone and they're ready to go. That this process can be very daunting. And even in these days, I mean, I think I heard that the affordability is at its lowest in 2 decades.
Yeah.
But for a first-time home buyer, that's pretty daunting. And so, where do you even begin, and how to be saving for that, and just really planning, and what can I really afford? Those are key. And so, yes, I think it's, what I'd have to say is I think that the benefits that the fintech community has brought to this is it's just things that others just haven't been thinking about as to how to make some of those budgeting and planning applications, more user friendly. And so, I've been really amazed about, how much has been done at that part of it, and think that that's really important. So to really, I mean, it is, as we always say, it's the most important investment that people are going to make. There's a lot to it, And so, yeah, that's something we're looking at and want to continue to really understand how fintech is helping with financial literacy and transparency and all of those very important things, so that somebody really understands what they're getting into well before they even embark on that.
Yeah.
Looking around the neighborhood. So, yeah.
Yeah, we kind of think about, again, a lot of the folks on our team came out of, either direct lending or, one of the GSEs. And if you think about traditional home buying and financing, people would go find the dream home, fall in love with the property, and then go down the path to secure financing.
Right.
And I think we're starting to see more people, with more tech and more tools being available earlier in the process, actually prepare themselves for the financial aspect of a transaction before they fall in love with the dream home that maybe they shouldn't be falling in love with. And in particular, what I'm seeing a lot of, which is refreshing, I think, I'd be curious what your perspective is the role that social media is playing in helping drive education, preparedness, and financial literacy. I'm seeing a lot of really talented loan officers who are taking to the social media platforms to be a voice of education and literacy and preparation. And I'm curious from the regulator side of things, if that's on the radar, things that you're kind of paying attention to that are starting to happen in terms of how the messages are being delivered.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, Brian. And I think about the tools that are available for borrowers or potential borrowers to really be able to do their homework before, like you said, they go in and fall in love with a place, that are available that weren't when I was doing it. It's you really have a chance to really do your homework, and I think that's important. I've been very interested in talking with some of the companies that are really trying to bring together and aggregate the whole financial picture. And there's a bunch of services. I know FinLocker is doing some of this as well, but that are really trying to bring all of the bank statements, investments, alternative data, and bring it into into one place. Because one of the things somebody was talking about is I heard on a podcast, and it was so true. With all the choices that we now have for our loans, investments, banking, we have so many different opportunities. What it means is that most of us have 10, 15 different accounts. It's very disaggregated because there was a great CD special here or a money market fund. And so the choice has been good, but the challenge there is that when you go to your lender, it's not the community banker who knew you had all the information in one place. It's probably a lender that you don't even have a bank deposit account with because they're offering a great rate. And so, how to be able to, some of the tools that are out there that are aggregating all of that so that a borrower actually says, here's my picture, here's what I bring to the table. So even before they're falling in love with the house, that they're like, this is what I have. And as some people talk about, which I find intriguing, bid for my business. But by having the power of that information in one place, which I think about in my experiences, I've never had. I think I have some money here or there, but I don't know exactly what I need. So here, I hope this will work to put the consumer in that to say, here's my picture. What would you like to do for me? I think there's a lot of power, and especially in an environment where affordability is a challenge, any tools where we can provide that data, and that data being a power to consumers, I think is something that we're looking at very closely. I think it has a lot of promise.
Do you think that a consumer that maybe goes through that kind of preparation process using various tools to aggregate their information, it obviously provides more certainty to that prospective home purchaser on what they truly can afford. Should give more efficiency to a lender if a lender can ingest that data directly, from the consumer. How do you think about the adoption at scale for consumers? Because that's really been one of the challenges inside of mortgage, specifically as it relates to things like digital verification of income and employment and even assets. There's, I think we're still well under 50% of transactions that have the combination of all three of those experiences. How do we do a better job of educating and letting consumers know that these tools are available and they're actually safe, and in a lot of cases maybe safer than driving across town with a box of documents that you're going to hand off to somebody?
Yeah, no, that's and you've thank you for that segue, because that's to be able to have that sort of tool that I was talking about. It's helpful, but if it's just sort of to get you in the door, and then we're back to the 1980s of all the paper. It's better than nothing. But it's similar like that. They talk about embedded finance, and I wasn't exactly sure what that was until I did a chat GBT, which is very interesting. Experimenting with that, and all of a sudden it's like doing two things on one site. That's how I get out of it. It's you buy it and pay for it, or you go to the doctor, you get the bill. It's all right there. You're not going to another thing, and so. How to be able to take that information and then just really plug into the process rather than saying, thanks very much, now fill out all these papers, is something that we are spending some time on. And, a lot, one of the areas that we're focusing on, and in fact, I'd like to announce we're going to be doing a tech sprint. So regulators do these things called tech sprints, and they are extremely helpful way to bring people from across the mortgage ecosystem, in our case, and that's really that's everybody that's got a piece of it, together to solve a set of problems with process improvements, product development, things that are intractable problems. And I think this issue. Actually, I know this issue of data and how we get source data from one place to another in the most efficient, paperless way is something that has been a challenge. That Fannie and Freddie have offered the day one certainties and aims. They've been around for a while, but adoption does not seem to be as robust as it can be. So there's a lot of reasons. I spent a lot of time talking to people as to why they think that's the issues. And so there's a lot of views. But, the best way to deal with something like this is let's bring everyone together. We're going to do it the week of July 10th. We'll be sending out invitations, and there'll be, I think it's open to anybody that wants to be a part of it. So I'm really excited about it. And it's going to really look at, and again, how do we really connect the sources better? How do we make this data flow? And not just the W-2 and all of that, that's important. But as we talk about alternative credit data, that's probably more challenging to mine. So how are we going to make sure that all of the great ideas that are being considered really can get into the mainstream? Because if it's challenging for some of the traditional sources to really go paperless, I think it's going to be even more challenging for some of these others. So this is a good time to really make sure we've got the tracks and the pipes built, and where we might need to focus so that we get good adoption. So that's a priority for the office, and we're looking forward to learning a lot more come this summer on that.
Yeah, I'm excited to be able to participate, and I assume a lot of the audience to this podcast are lenders themselves, and obviously they're squarely impacted by all of these things. I'm assuming they they also have a seat at the table.
Oh, yes.
For these conversations.
Yeah, and on the lenders, it's very important. So again, I'm talking to everybody I can, and I want to continue to. And lenders are clearly key to this, and it's easy to sort of say, well, I don't know why lenders do it the way they do. Well, there's a lot of reasons why, but it's important to really, for my office, to understand all the issues and the challenges that they face. And really they need to be part of it to say, if we change the process from X to Y, it would mean a lot more helpful. Like, we want to hear that and make these things, because if we just talk amongst fintechs and vendor and everybody gets excited and we don't bring the lenders along, I don't know where we go with that. So they're key to this. The other group that's key is the consumers. And as we go into some of this consumer permission data, and we go into the APIs and all of those things, which sound great, but I do hear that there is some hesitancy from consumers of, what do you mean sharing my login? My bank always said never share that. Now there's some company that pops up, says, So I think there's a lot that has to be done also in making these issues and processes more transparent, understandable to a consumer. So when some screen pops up, they're ready for it. They understand it. They understand that it's secure. They understand how it's used. So we're spending a lot of time with some industry groups, FDX and others, that have really been blazing the trail on really trying to come up with some standards, uniform ways of doing it. And I think so part of our exercise, our sprint, is going to make sure we consider those matters too, the need for transparency and making sure that we're bringing the consumer along as well. So, and then last on that is our teams will be set up specifically to mix everyone. So we're not going to have just at this thing teams of just fintechs. We're really going to insist that we have a lender on the team. We have different people. So, because it doesn't make sense to come up with a solution if somebody says that's not going to work. That's nice maybe in fantasy land, but that's not going to work in Peoria. So we want to really make sure that anything that we come up with is grounded and that we have good representation on these teams. So, yeah.
I love it. I think it's much needed. It's one of those strange times in mortgage, right? In terms of just what's going on in the macro economy and inside a mortgage, there's a lot of kind of doom and gloom. But I talk to lenders every day, and maybe it's the nature of the lenders I'm talking to. They're very bullish on the future, but they're very focused on how to improve customer experience, and it's all centered on leveraging the various digital tools that are out there. I think the sprint is going to be highly successful. I think it's going to be very engaging. You'll have the right players at the table. These are the lenders that'll participate will be those forward leaning, the lenders that are in it for the long haul, so to speak. So it'll be exciting to see the outcome of that.
Yeah. And I want to have the lenders there that are like, I don't know about any of this. It would be very helpful to have skeptical, those that say, I've heard this, seen this before, and here's the challenges. Like having some of them there as well will be key, so that we're grounded in the realities of where we are today. But I think that's going to be a helpful way to sort of be able to move forward. That we're really bringing everybody along.
Well, I love it. Before I let you go, anything else you'd like to share with the audience, Jason?
Well, just please, stay in touch if you're doing something interesting in the mortgage space, and I haven't reached out to you yet, and you're feeling you're feeling like I'm missing you. Please reach out. I check my LinkedIn all the time. I've become a big user of it. It's a great tool. So send me a line, send me a note, and happy to get to know what you're doing to help advance the process forward.
Love it. Jason, thank you so much for joining again. Thank you from the industry for being willing to listen and learn and engage with the lending and fintech community. It's much appreciated.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, Brian. These are great shows, so thanks for getting me on.
Thank you, and everybody, thanks again for tuning in. Come back next Friday for next week's Fintech Friday. It's actually going to be a live Fintech Friday where I'm going to have 3 Finfluencers. I don't think I made that up, but who are going to talk about their strategies and secrets to success in building an audience and helping educate around financial fitness and mortgage preparedness. So we're excited about that show. Thanks again, Jason. See y'all.
Thanks, guys.